चलो अगला क्वेश्चन है मेरा, हु इज रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर प्रेजेंटिंग द बजट इन द हाउस?
So the president.
The president, sir.
प्रेसिडेंट या फिर फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर?
President.
President.
ठीक है, एंड हु ऑथराइजेस द प्रेसिडेंट टू डू सो?
Constitution.
The constitution itself.
Correct. The constitution itself provides for the president that he has to present the budget. चलो अगला क्वेश्चन है, how many times has the government's budget preceded a recession or let's say a contraction in the economy? ऐसा कितनी बार हुआ है आज तक इतिहास में भारत के that a budget was presented but prior to the budget in the previous year the economy had contracted, shrink हुई हो economy? Anybody has any idea?
No, sir.
Okay, so it has been 3 times. Okay, याद रखना ये चीज इस बार के बजट स्पीच में बोली गई थी. बजट स्पीच में निर्मला सीतारमन जी ने बोला है that it has been only third instance जहां पे बजट को प्रेजेंट करते टाइम पे प्रीवियस ईयर में the economy was actually contracting. बजट से रिलेटेड और कोई क्वेश्चन किसी को? क्योंकि डॉक्यूमेंट तो बजट का भी अंडर प्रिपरेशन है. इफ आई कुड ओनली शो यू, इट्स अ 15 पेजर डॉक्यूमेंट अभी तक, और आई थिंक इसमें 25 पेजेस और ऐड हो जाएंगे बाय द टाइम आई विल बी डन विद द एक्सप्लेनेशंस एंड एवरीथिंग. सो उस डॉक्यूमेंट के सिवा कुछ नहीं पढ़ना, इट विल डू द नीडफुल. ठीक है, नाउ लेट्स बिगिन विद आवर न्यूज़पेपर सिंस इट्स ऑलरेडी द टाइम. Amazon wins relief as High Court stays the future Reliance deal. Now what happened was Singapore International Arbitration Center, यहाँ पे एक नाम दिया हुआ है, this was having a case between Amazon and ये जो तुम्हारा फ्यूचर रिटेल ग्रुप है, which you would easily know by the name of Big Bazaar. ठीक है, बिग बाजार के नाम से जो है आपकी उस रिटेल चेन के साथ में एक टाई अप था. What happened was Amazon ने टाई अप किया फ्यूचर ग्रुप के साथ में, saying that any time future group has to expand its retail business, Amazon will be partnering with it. ठीक है, Amazon इसके साथ पार्टनर करेगा. प्लस सेकेंड थिंग, जब Amazon ने एक मेजॉरिटी स्टेक अक्वायर किया था, काफी बड़ा स्टेक अक्वायर किया था फ्यूचर ग्रुप में, एट दैट पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम Amazon decided that we'll also put a clause that tomorrow if future group wants to sell off its company and it wants to be completely sold or want to partner with some other country, Amazon will have a say in that. ये इनकी डील थी. But Future Group did what? In order to come out of the troubles of their own finances, they partnered with Reliance Group. जब इन्होंने Reliance Group के साथ में पार्टनर कर लिया, in that case Amazon didn't like it because Future Group did not ask Amazon about it. ठीक है, now it might appear a little bit crazy to you that why should Future Group ask Amazon? The only factor behind it is that you have previously signed a deal with Amazon. You have signed a deal which states that right now you are providing me with the money, but tomorrow if I want more money from somebody else or if I want to sell off my own business, I'll come and consult you once because you are providing me with the money. Now, Amazon did no charity then. Amazon ने ऐसा नहीं कि दान में वो रुपए दिए थे फ्यूचर ग्रुप को. It acquired ownership of Future Group to a limited extent. Okay, so it had to be consulted. But since you know that their stake was not controlling stake as in जब तुम्हारे पास ज्यादा से ज्यादा शेयर हो so that you can go ahead and do anything you want to. इतने शेयर्स नहीं थे तो Amazon से इतना ज्यादा कुछ इफेक्ट पड़ना नहीं था फ्यूचर ग्रुप को. बट अल्टीमेटली व्हाट हैपेंड, दिस लेड टू अ रिफ्ट. जैसे ही फ्यूचर ग्रुप और रिलायंस की एक मीटिंग हुई, इन्होंने एक इमरजेंसी आर्बिट्रेशन फाइल किया विद सिंगापुर इंटरनेशनल आर्बिट्रेशन. ये किया था Amazon ने. ठीक है, अब Amazon की इस एप्लीकेशन के तुरंत बाद में, as soon as Amazon was done with this, the Singapore International Arbitration Center said that इस डील के टाइम पे फ्यूचर ग्रुप was duty bound to consult Amazon before making any choices. इस टाइप का कोई भी चॉइस करने से पहले, डील करने से पहले फ्यूचर ग्रुप को Amazon से कंसल्ट करना चाहिए था, which फ्यूचर ग्रुप failed to do. If Future Group had failed to do this, in that circumstance, now this deal stands null and void. ये था सिंगापुर इंटरनेशनल आर्बिट्रेशन सेंटर का आर्ग्यूमेंट. Now after that, when this Future Group realized कि इसके अगेंस्ट हो गई है यहाँ पे ये जजमेंट, in that case it came and filed a case with Delhi High Court. Delhi High Court has observed two different things. First, सिंगापुर इंटरनेशनल आर्बिट्रेशन सेंटर का जो जजमेंट है और जो वर्डिक्ट है, this is enforceable in India. This is the first thing which they have said over here. Okay, that this is enforceable in India. This is a very good step because now it will ensure that foreign companies will be coming to India and they will be investing without having to think about the problems of Indian judiciary. क्योंकि हमारे यहाँ पे कॉन्ट्रैक्ट एनफोर्समेंट बहुत खराब है. Those of you who have been following this index called as ease of doing business, in that we score fairly low when it comes to contract enforcement wala part. So now that the contract will be enforced, this time it will send out good signals outside. Second thing, let's think about it from a general perspective. We know Future Group is Indian, we know Reliance is Indian. Keeping our Indian spirit aside, don't you think Amazon should have got its stay? इसको भी कहने का मौका मिलना चाहिए था when this deal was happening? Definitely yes. Because यही तो spirit of business है. Right now I'm providing you money and we have a term that tomorrow if I sell off my business, I'll ask you once. That is something which we have to take into account next time I'm making a business choice for myself. So this is a very good judgment, and in future let's see what happens. See, this is just an interim judgment. It's not a let's say any kind of final verdict. There will be hearsays and काफी hearing होंगी इसके बारे में. बहुत सारे लोग arguments अपने put forward करेंगे. There will be good arguments, there will be bad arguments. Some people will go and want to go into the nitty-gritties of the deal, finding if there is any clause that allows the Future Group to do so. All of these things will be evaluated at a later stage. But for now, immediately, interim relief has been provided to Amazon by this Delhi High Court. Okay, and Singapore Arbitration Center's orders are enforceable in India. This is also something which has been said. Now, tomorrow you're talking about ease of doing business. In any GD debate or anywhere, you can use this term, that contract enforcement, which is pretty poor in India, because of which foreign companies do not want to come to India, is now seeing an upside because the courts are also taking genuine sides with the businesses and they are not really going forward with the socialist business. What they're doing now is they're simply providing arbitration rather than going forward with the social side. Okay? Any doubts in this news? Anybody? किसी को भी कोई doubt हो? If no, then we'll move forward. Okay, good. Now let's come to the second one. Now 340 deaths due to manual scavenging. Now, what is manual scavenging? That is one thing which we have to know. I hope you have all seen the movie Article 15. So this movie came last year and it was pretty controversial also for certain reasons. But in Article 15, there is a scene where a man, a completely, not completely, but a semi-naked man enters into a sinkhole or a gutter as you call it, or as a sewage pipe. उसके अंदर वो उतरता है with bare hands, no protective gear, nothing else, and takes a dip into the sludge and thereafter pulls out all the fecal matter by his bare hands. This is a practice which I saw for the first time in 2015 and nowhere else than Delhi. So until 2015, I have seen this in Delhi, where we considered that Delhi has all the sophisticated instruments that are required to clean up its own municipal wastage. But still this practice prevails. This is completely against human dignity. And government has been trying to do away with this manual scavenging effect. Now, those of you who don't know, there are something called as dry toilets. Okay, dry toilets. In dry toilets or dry latrines, what happens is you go, you dump, and thereafter a lady will come, generally a lady of a lower caste will come with just a vessel in her hand. उससे हाथ से she cleans up the poop and thereafter she has to put it on her head and she walks away. Okay, this is actually something which happens, which is completely dehumanizing. It has been happening in parts of Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, and Uttar Pradesh, and this is a practice which is still practiced in certain areas. Okay, this is a still ongoing practice. Now, manual scavenging is not just dehumanizing, but it also goes against the principles of equality. Why should one person lift somebody else's dump? That is one of the major questions which is raised. Second, when these people are entering the sewage lines without any kind of protection, in that case, they are prone to gases and harmful waste material. For example, infections होते हैं इनको, infections के अलावा they get diseased. Also often when they enter inside, because there is a high concentration of CO2, methane and all, इनको उसी टाइम पे इनके ब्लड का जो होता है डीऑक्सीडेशन हो जाता है, फिर वो जो होता है इनको पॉइजनिंग हो जाती है बॉडी में, and thereafter these people die. Okay, so this has been a case. If you recall, last year in 2018, there was a group of people who entered one after the other. They kept on entering to see why has the other person did not come out. 5 people died that way simply by inhaling these gases. So government has been trying to eliminate this manual scavenging completely. And in order to eliminate it, government has put a blanket ban on the practice of manual scavenging. No person or authority can resort to manual scavenging for cleaning its fecal matter or sewage wastage. Okay, but still, approximately 5,000 people in the country are practicing it. Okay, so now if 5,000 people are practicing, in that case, you should understand that we need to rehabilitate them. We are trying to rehabilitate them by the Manual Scavenging Rehabilitation Act, under which a grant of 50,000 rupees, scholarship to their children, and whatnot is being provided, and yet this practice continues. The reason is there is blatant corruption and leakage of subsidy at various levels, which forbids any kind of development to these people. So thus far we have seen 340 deaths. Uttar Pradesh has topped the charts with 52 deaths, Tamil Nadu with 43, Delhi with 36. Maharashtra had 34 deaths, and similarly other states have recorded other numbers. Now you can see that the areas like Delhi still have these deaths happening, which means it's not a story of the gone days. It is pretty much in practice right now. Next news is no central law against conversion. So recently Uttar Pradesh government ने एक ordinance लाया था. In that ordinance इन्होंने बोला कि if there is a conversion of religion solely for the purpose of marriage, ठीक है, solely for the practice of marriage, in that case this will not be held valid and this conversion will be cancelled, this marriage will be annulled, and the persons involved in this case will be jailed. ठीक है, this is what the ordinance said. Now this led to questions on whether central government is also trying to bring any law. Central government has said that law and order, these are under the ambit of state. State matlab list 2 of schedule 7. Okay, so इसी वजह से center will not bring any legislation. Now because we did not have DND then, I could not explain you the nitty-gritties of this ordinance, but let me give you a brief insight about it. So they are saying first of all conversion. Don't you think फंडामेंटल राइट्स के अंडर हमें प्रोटेक्शन ऑफ रिलीजन भी दिया हुआ है? मेरा मन है कि मैं कौन सा रिलीजन फॉलो करना चाहता हूँ. सो इफ आई वांट टू कन्वर्ट आई कैन कन्वर्ट, राइट? इफ आई वांट टू कन्वर्ट ओनली फॉर द पर्पस ऑफ मैरिज आई कैन डू इट. If I am fooled, even if I'm fooled, in that case, I can still convert back to my religion. Nobody is preventing me from doing so. Some people say that you're fooling girls and thereafter converting their religion to a particular religion, and you're marrying them just for the sake of getting some, I don't know what kind of benefit, but yeah, they claim that there is a benefit of that way. But understand this from one perspective. From Karl Marx का अगर आप बात करो तो Karl Marx said that religion is the opium of the masses. Any which ways a person who's consuming opium, if you shift that person from opium to cocaine, it makes no difference to me, honestly. There shouldn't have been a law on that. We shouldn't be wasting our resources on any such laws. Okay, if somebody is going crazy, you cannot stop them from going crazier. As simple as that. Now, coming on to the second point, should state be participating in activities where somebody is being fooled and thereafter their conversion is happening? Just realize this one simple thing. If somebody is being fooled and their religion is being put at stake, definitely state can intervene, but that person has to file a case against the other person who has done this to him or her, and उसके ऊपर फिर fraud का, forgery का, इन सब का charge लगेगा. Under the relevant sections of IPC, it will be done, but there should not be separate legislation per se solely for this one reason, because ऐसे जितने भी laws आते हैं, they may do good, but what they do more is harm, and that harm is built in the form of social divide. We all know that which community is being targeted through these laws. ठीक है, हम सबको पता है which community is being targeted, which community is trying to gain the advantage and what not. I'm not saying anything about anybody, and उससे मुझे कोई खासा देखो फर्क भी नहीं पड़ता, क्योंकि जब तक हम लोग ओछी राजनीति करते रहेंगे कुछ बदलेगा नहीं. If you really want to improve things, first of all you have to educate people that religion shouldn't matter in your life that much. Religion should be a part of your life, but it should not be your life. वही तुम्हारी दुनिया नहीं होनी चाहिए. If you are developing, that's a good thing. Your development should be in the field of education, health sector and the areas. Okay, now somebody will come and say कि सर ऐसे तो कोई भी कल को किसी को मैरी करा देगा, शादी करा देगा, उनके बहुत सारे राइट्स बर्खास्त होते हैं, कुछ की तो लाइफ खराब हो जाती है. Now understand, we do have IPC, Indian Penal Code. When you are creating any such law, in that case you're simply specifying that problem. ठीक है. नेगेटिव पब्लिसिटी, कभी तुमने मोदी जी को जनरली राहुल गांधी जी के बारे में कुछ बोलते हुए नहीं सुना होगा, क्योंकि नेगेटिव पब्लिसिटी इज ऑल्सो अ पब्लिसिटी. I mean, if it was not for the social media, I for myself would have never become aware about the term love jihad. It was something which was prevalent, which was happening. People came to know about it, and the worst part is people who know only this much about the problem tend to speak this much about it. जैसे कंगना रनौत जी. अब उसका तो कुछ कर नहीं सकते हम लोग, सबको अपनी अभिव्यक्ति की आजादी है. For example, somebody might not like what I am saying right now, but I also have my Article 19, just the way you have. And in that case, if you don't like what I'm saying, as simple as that, you can simply ignore me. क्या ही कर सकते हो उस पे? And if I'm saying something very wrong, you can definitely go to the court. And again, IPC is the one that will prevail. There should not be a specific law against any one particular problem. होना ये चाहिए, अगर फ्रॉड हो रहा है तो उसके लिए फ्रॉड के सेक्शंस अप्लाई हो. अगर किसी के साथ लाइफ चेंज, फॉर एग्जांपल लेट्स से आपको एग्जाम्पलीफाई करना है ना, somebody did something to some girl, उसके बाद में उसका कन्वर्जन कराया, कन्वर्जन के बाद में उससे शादी करी, एंड शादी करने के बाद में उसका मतलब पता चल गया, उसका एक्सप्लॉयटेशन स्टार्ट करना शुरू कर दिया. अंडर द आईपीसी हाउ मेनी चार्जेस कैन बी अप्लाइड? सबसे पहले तो फ्रॉड का चार्ज हो सकता है, फॉर्जरी का चार्ज हो सकता है, ठीक है. उसके बाद में इट कैन ऑल्सो अमाउंट टू रेप. द गर्ल गेव यू कंसेंट फॉर मैरिज only because of certain reasons and you faked them all, so it can amount to rape also. Understand, IPC पर बहुत सेक्शन है, लगाने वाले की इच्छा और ज्ञान पर निर्भर करता है कि वो कौन सा सेक्शन लगा सकता है, ठीक है. There are nitty-gritties of the law, obviously there are, but you should know that there should not be a blanket law only for a particular social problem stating its name when you know that there is a very big controversy around it. That's what I would say. Next point is, वाह ये तो यहीं चिपक गया, इसका कुछ करना पड़ेगा. चलो गया. Okay, next point is goodbye to fiscal orthodoxy. Now, before I go to this editorial, I just want to ask you if you have any doubts thus far. किसी को कोई डाउट है अभी तो बताओ. Anybody?
Not a doubt, sir, but a point to make. I would rather appreciate if I make that at the end of the class, not right now.
Sure.
It will.
Class में देखते हैं. ठीक है. Okay, I know the topic is such that उस पे debates आते हैं, but don't worry, I have answer to all. Next point is it's goodbye to fiscal orthodoxy. First of all, let's try to understand what does this term mean, a fiscal orthodoxy. If you remember 1991 के around, our country was not having the kind of money it required. So we went to IMF and World Bank. इन दोनों ने मिलके हमसे कहा that you have to ensure fiscal discipline. Fiscal discipline was that your borrowing should be less, debt to GDP ratio should come down, your fiscal deficit should reduce and everything, right? Basically, they called for something called as macroeconomic stability. Then they also said us that you should open up or you should liberalize. देखो अभी तुम्हें बहुत छोटे तरीके से पूरा बजट समझ में आ जाएगा. इस बार के बजट में what we did was we said that our GDP is growing pretty slow, so we need to increase it. We are trying to do it by increased consumption, and consumption will increase only when government is expending more. So this time the fiscal deficit will be 9.5% of GDP in financial year 21, 6.8% in 22, and subsequently we'll try to bring it down to 3.5%. Subsequently, God knows when, but we'll try to do this. This goes against something called as FRBM. We have a Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act. FRBM Act के अंडर we were supposed to bring our fiscal deficit to under 3% and debt to GDP ratio to under 40%. ठीक है. Now, were we able to do that? Obviously, the answer is no. We were not able to achieve it, and the government kept on shifting its own goalposts. And this time again, we'll do that. Since we have not been able to do it, and COVID pandemic came as an excuse, so we have completely shifted the goalpost. We said that fiscal discipline doesn't matter as of now. What we are trying to do is spend more money in the economy so that more and more people can get jobs, more opportunities are created, more investment is made, and the country can get back to its own normal growth rate. Second thing, we also increased the import duties or tariffs on certain things. Anti-dumping duties were applied on steel coming from China as well as from Germany. Multiple things kept happening. So this goes against the principle of liberalization. We have closed ourselves and we have not liberalized ourselves in that direction. But if you come over to the domestic industries, we have decided that the government will be retracting from variety of areas, and only in certain areas will PSUs exist. All other PSUs will be privatized. Two more banks will be merged, and one national insurance company will be privatized. That is LIC. This is what the government's plan is. So you can see on one hand, we are going against these values, fiscal discipline and open economy, but liberalization is something which we are pursuing, and that too with protection. Also, along with this liberalization, we are promoting something called as FDI, or foreign direct investment, into our economy. So FDI will not only bring expertise, but it will also bring the kind of funding which is required. Right now, the entire world is spending more. IMF has also said that let's spend more. IMF and World Bank both are promoting expansion. Okay, now it depends. Our country's economy has not been so strong. We have been either in BBB rating or B minus rating. But if these Moody's and Goldman and Sachs have some wisdom, they'll understand that right now we don't have a choice. We cannot have a contractionary economic policy. We need to have an expansionary economy policy. Okay, and that's what the budget has pursued this time. We are spending more, we are earning less, we are borrowing more. That's what we are doing. Last year, around 20% of our own revenue was borrowed. This time, 36% of our revenue is borrowed. All these facts will be given to you in the budget sheet, which I will be giving you. It will take time, but believe me, the content will be good. It's not important for CDS examination. So those giving CDS examination right now need not worry about it. But all this data, which I will be giving you, if you go ahead and read it in detail, it will not just help you understand the budget, but also the macroeconomic perspectives of the perspective of the economy at large. Okay, so all will be helped. Entire thing that I've explained to you right now is what has been said by the author in this complete editorial. Okay, nothing more than that. Next, let's come to the next point. Now, RBI picks firm to audit HDFC Bank's IT infra. Now, HDFC Bank is a DSIB. Can somebody tell me what is a DSIB? Anybody who wants to try?
Sir, these are the banks which cannot go in failure, or some important have a large impact on the market, or somewhat else.
Correct. Yes, correct. They are too big to fail. TBTF. Anybody else who wants to add any words to that?
So along with HDFC in DSIB, we also have SBI and ICICI.
Correct. And which is the next bank which might come into that?
Axis.
Axis. It was about to come, but फिर वो चिपकी ने घोटाला कर दिया तो काम खराब हो गया.
और PNB, I guess.
The PNB is standing far away. Axis was the one which was about to enter but could not. So these are three major banks which we have, which have this tag of DSIB. This is domestically systematically important bank. Okay, systematically important bank. D मतलब domestically. G से हो जाती है globally जो important हो जाए, ज़्यादा बड़ी हो जाए. GSIB. If that bank fails, the entire global economy collapses. DSIB का मतलब हुआ if this bank fails, the entire Indian economy collapses. HDFC, ICICI, and SBI are the three banks which are too big to fail. Too big to fail. If they fail, entire economy collapses with them. Now HDFC ने सोचा कि थोड़ा सा बचपन में वो खेलते थे ना, we used to play that hide and seek game when we were kids. Some of you must be playing right now also. So HDFC played that hide and seek the other day, and its entire what you can call electronic network failed. People were not able to do NEFT transactions. People were not able to log into their accounts. Nothing was working. पूरी net banking fail हो गई इनकी. And all of that led to one simple thing. RBI was looking that side. Now RBI plus SEBI plus IRDA plus everybody else is looking at them. Everybody wants to take a look at them. Why? Because HDFC provides all kind of services. It provides insurance, it provides banking, it provides whatnot, loans, everything. So in this regard, we cannot allow them to fail on any one aspect. And you know, corporates have a profit motive. So if they feel that by hiding certain truths from us, they can maybe get away with a fine or something, they'll do it. They'll hide that thing. Okay, so now RBI will be conducting an audit of the HDFC Bank's IT infrastructure to see whether HDFC can handle it or not. And if they find lacuna in that, what is the worst that could happen to HDFC Bank? Can somebody tell? किसी को आइडिया है कि सबसे ज्यादा खराब क्या हो सकता है अगर HDFC बैंक ये प्रूव ना कर पाए कि it will be able to handle its IT infrastructure has problems and all that? Anybody who wants to make a guess is also welcome.
They can be barred from the country for any further businesses.
No, that we cannot do. Obviously, our economy is dependent on them. If we ask them to shut business, वो हमारा नुकसान हो जाएगा.
Takeover by the government?
Correct. It could lead to a takeover by the government. Not exactly the government, but RBI अपना एक board बनाएगी और उस board के अंदर इसे डाल देगी. ठीक है, that board will take over the management. You might have seen that happen in the case of one bank recently. Can you name that bank? किस बैंक के साथ हुआ था?
Yes Bank.
Correct. Yes Bank was the one जो victim हुआ था इसका कुछ टाइम पहले. उनके बोर्ड में प्रॉब्लम थी तो आरबीआई ने बैंक ही छीन लिया उनसे. सो इसीलिए कहते हैं कि भाई से पंगा नहीं लेने का. आरबीआई मतलब दबंग बैंक है वो हमारा. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट इज अगेन ईसीटी का फियास्को अभी तक चल रहा है ईस्ट कंटेनर टर्मिनल का. आई जस्ट वांटेड टू गिव यू दैट ये कमेंट्री इनकी चले जा रही है, खत्म नहीं होगी. Anytime something substantial comes, read it, but otherwise ignore it. Looks too beautiful, that's why I included it, but otherwise it's not important. Then there's a news, marriage age, Supreme Court to study plea to transfer High Court cases to itself. There were two cases which are going on in different High Courts, and एक Delhi High Court में था, एक Rajasthan High Court में था. Both High Courts were discussing simple fact कि why should be the age of women less than men when it comes to marrying. ठीक है. It's simply a patriarchal problem, nothing more than that. I believe that दोनों की एज जो है 21 साल होनी चाहिए शादी की. 18-21 रखने का कोई सेंस बनता नहीं है. This only indicates that the wife is expected to be younger than the husband, which makes no sense to me honestly.
Sir, there is a biological भी तो एज सर थोड़ा सा गैप डिफरेंस होता है ना उस हिसाब से. सर
क्या
बायोलॉजिकली भी तो सर उनको एडोलेसेंट एज उनकी गर्ल्स की मतलब विमेंस की पहले हो जाती है थोड़ी सी.
देखो मैं एक बात बताऊं, मतलब हंसी आएगी तो मैं थोड़ी सी, बट दिस इज वेरी ट्रू.
यस सर.
हैज टू बी एटलीस्ट 18 years old to bear a baby, a healthy baby. ठीक है. यही मंत्री जी ने एक अभी थोड़े दिन पहले बयान दिया था कि लड़कियां तो 16 साल पे भी बच्चा पैदा करने के लिए लायक हो जाती हैं. So let's allow them to marry at 18. What's the problem in that? My counter argument is इस हिसाब से तो लड़के 12 साल की उम्र में तैयार हो जाते हैं बच्चा पैदा करने के लिए. They begin producing sperm. तो उनकी शादी थोड़े ना करा देंगे कि 12 साल के लड़के पकड़ के करा दी शादी.
Sir, it's about only patriarchal society, bus.
It is just a patriarchal problem, nothing more than that. I mean, look at the system.
Maybe sir, it is related to psychological factor or mental capability factor also, because girls do get mature before guys, and that is actually proven by science.
Exactly, sir. I want to say.
You need more
But
relationships.
there are social problems associated with that, right? That's the reason of child marriage, and maybe only girls are the victim of it.
But
What
now,
social-
sir, if the age is now made 21 for girls, our society will not change in a day. Marriages will still happen for girls at 18. But for these 3 years, they will not get the protection which they get right now
ठीक है.
by the law.
If you have, how many of you have, let's say, seen your classmates or schoolmates getting married?
Yes, sir. Many of
Yes,
my
sir.
friends have got
I
married
have.
at age.
Yes,
was the
many
same.
of my friends are married.
Many friends
When
are
was the
getting
same?
married.
When did you
I
first
know
get-
2 of my friends who have 2 babies and who are of my age.
Exactly.
Too early.
कोई बात नहीं, फिर तुम मेरे दर्द समझ सकते हो. But still, सबसे young age क्या थी? When was the youngest that you have seen somebody getting married?
So I've seen a girl of 14
17.
years
14
old.
years.
14 years old. So she was younger than me and she got married.
Okay. Let me tell you, a classmate of mine got married when we were in 8th standard. 11 साल की थी वो. ठीक है. So child marriage is still happening. That's very true. Okay, child marriage is still happening. Very true. But a legislation has helped us curtail it. काफी large extent तक. I know from that time it's been like what, more than 10 years now. So since then the prevalence of child marriages has come down to a drastic level just because we have a law. Okay, let me tell you one more thing. Why do child marriages prevail in this country? Some people say कि sir child marriage को हमने करके देख लिया ना. We decided that child marriages will not be allowed in this country. It's an offense if you are found doing child marriage. So in that case, people didn't stop. Girls are still getting married. It's just that they are not no longer accounted for. Nobody registers the marriage. Only they wait for the girl to turn 18 and then they go and register the marriage. Right? This is what is happening. Let me tell you, child marriage is an offense only if it is caught. You know, the marriage doesn't get annulled if you even file a complaint that this girl is under 18, she has been married for 2 years, or let's say she has just been married. लड़के पे केस हो जाएगा, पर वो marriage annul नहीं होती है. Child marriage is not even a ground for divorce in India. It's a half-hearted law that has been applied. आधे दिल से हमने वो कानून बना के लगाया है, इसी वजह से कुछ नहीं हुआ. One example of how things could be controlled is sati law. Sati law के टाइम पे it was completely forbidden. किसी भी महिला को नहीं जलाया जाने दे रहे थे. So you can see that yes, now sati is completely done away with. I've never heard of a case of sati, but you can see child marriage इसी वजह से होती है क्योंकि it's a half-hearted law. अगर हम जो point यहाँ पे raise किया गया था that if we increase the age of marriage for girls from 18 to 21, in that case what will happen? Most of the marriages will not get registered at all, right? That's very valid point. People will still keep getting married, बस वो registration नहीं होगा. But you can understand that in years to come, 10 years, 15 years, social change will come. Social changes overnight नहीं possible होते, क्योंकि कहीं ना कहीं हमारे अंदर the upbringing remains. I mean, we all might be very okay with let's say routine life, है ना? But how many of you are comfortable with the divorce, getting a divorce? कितने लोग को लगता है कि ठीक है चिल है, कोई बात नहीं, हो जाएगा तो हो जाएगा? Anybody who feels that way? I don't think anybody would. But so Western society is very comfortable with divorce, right? Western society में divorce का क्या है? ठीक है, if it is not working between two people, they'll divorce. They'll end the marriage just like that. They don't care. Because उनका जो एक cultural value है ना, that has become different. इनिशियली उनके लॉस भी ऐसे नहीं थे, आज की तारीख में उनके बन गए. तो अगर हम लोग चाहें तो अपनी सोसाइटी को वैसे ही धीरे धीरे मॉडर्न कर सकते हैं. अल्टीमेटली इट विल बिकम एक्सेप्टेबल, अल्टीमेटली द चेंज विल कम, बट राइट नाउ वी नीड टू मेक सम रूल्स. राइट नाउ वी हैव टू चेंज इट. ठीक है. Now let's come to the next news. MHA gets further extension till April 9 to frame CAA rules. As you all might be aware, किसी भी लॉ को बनाने के बाद 6 months होते हैं रेलेवेंट मिनिस्ट्री के पास रूल्स बनाने के लिए, बट MHA was busy forming rules for COVID. इसी वजह से it could not form rules for CAA. So now it has got time till July. And as I've told you, COVID को कोई seriously तो ले नहीं रहा है, तो उससे पहले ही we are expecting that the rules will be released. ठीक है? So that is here. Now this is one very good news, but I'll come on to that later. First we'll do the other ones, Myanmar wali, because I have to tell you something about Myanmar. Now Jal Jeevan Mission to help revive urban water bodies. Urban water bodies को revive करने के लिए Jal Jeevan Mission सरकार ने launch किया है. Apart from that, we are having two different things called as Metro New and Metro Light. ठीक है. Currently India में approximately 40% households have access to tapped water, and the goal is to provide tapped water to 100% people. Why? क्योंकि WHO ने बोला है that if you invest a single rupee in wash, water and sanitation and hygiene, in that case the outcome is 6 rupees for every 1 rupee that you invest. क्योंकि उसका हेल्थ पे, लोगों की हाइजीन पे और प्रोडक्टिविटी पे इंप्रूवमेंट बहुत ज्यादा होता है. दैट इज वाई. सो दिस इज व्हाट यू हैव टू कीप इन माइंड, दैट वी आर कंसिस्टेंटली इन्वेस्टिंग मोर एंड मोर मनी व्हेन इट कम्स टू द जल जीवन मिशन, एंड वी आर ट्राइंग टू अचीव 100% पोर्टेबल वाटर जो होता है उसकी सप्लाई देने की हम लोग कोशिश कर रहे हैं. Potable water. Now, second thing, through these metro initiatives, what we are trying to do is decongest the cities. Decongestion से क्या होगा? Vehicles will come down on the streets, and second thing, pollution will reduce. So congestion and pollution, दोनों चीजों को एक साथ में we will be able to tackle. This is just something which I had to tell you because it is relevant to a relevant program. That is Mission Amrut. तो आज आपका होमवर्क है कि आप अमृत प्रोग्राम के बारे में पढ़ेंगे. What is Mission Amrut? ठीक है, it is actually related to urban development and urban modernization. So this is your homework that you have to read, that what comes under Amrut and how is it relevant in the current context. Next is Indian Overseas Bank, Canara Bank, Central Bank of India and UCO Bank. इन तीनों बैंक्स पे PCA जो था RBI ने लगाया था. Now PCA क्या है? This is prompt corrective action. Prompt corrective action. It has 3 different tier associated with it. 3 tier में होता है, एक PCA का first होता है, एक second होता है, and then there is third one. So depending on the kind of bank you are, you would be put in either of these categories if you are failing. For example, आपका NPA का level कितना है, NPA के बाद में आपकी total car value कितनी है, ठीक है, capital adequacy ratio होता है ये CAR. तो इनके बेसिस पे आपको पुट करते हैं. Now capital adequacy ratio क्या है? It's in very simple terms, let me tell you, it is the ratio of good capital to bad capital. या फिर कह दो proportioning करनी होती है आपको. जैसे let's say if you are having loans of 100 crores, ठीक है, 100 crores में let's say 10 crores are the loans which are very bad loans. So for rationing them, you will put 1 crore aside. कि अगर ये फेल होते हैं 10 करोड़ तो एटलीस्ट वो 1 करोड़ मेरा कैपिटल बचा रहेगा. You have to put that capital aside to compensate for this 10 crore. It's a banking का फंडा, बहुत डिटेल्ड इकोनॉमिक कॉन्सेप्ट है. I will not go into the depth of it, but इसी टाइप से होता है, आसान सी भाषा में समझने के लिए. I'll explain that again. Let's say your total lending portfolio is 100 crores का, उसमें 10 करोड़ आपके bad loans हैं. You know they are very bad. You may not be able to recover anything out of it. So you will put aside 1 crore rupees to compensate for this 10 crore. ठीक है, वो एक रेशियो होता है फिक्स्ड बैंक का. इंडिया में 9% है. We have to keep 9% of capital adequacy ratio. We have to maintain it. Basel 3 norms जो है उनके अंडर they recommended 8% of it. लेकिन India said that we need to have a stringent regulation, so we will put 9% over here. ठीक है, so this is what we have. तो ये तीनों टेयर क्या होते हैं? This is your homework. This also is your homework. You have to go through that. What are the 3 different tiers of PCA? Which bank is to be put in which bank? ये पता होना चाहिए आपको approximately. 3 banks which are there, they'll be pulled out. अब इनमें रिस्ट्रिक्शन क्या होते हैं ये भी पता होना चाहिए. जैसे पहली बार में आपको बोल देते हैं यू कैन नॉट लेंड, दूसरी बार में बोल देते हैं आप लेंडिंग नहीं करोगे प्लस ब्रांच एक्सपेंशन नहीं करोगे, तीसरे बार में सैलरी कट से लेके सब कुछ होता है फिर. ठीक है, सो व्हाट आर द इम्प्लीकेशंस ऑफ इट, दैट इज आल्सो समथिंग. अब जो लोग मेहनती हो ढूंढ लेना थोड़ी एक चार्ट, बस तुम्हें गूगल सर्च करनी है, यू विल गेट द चार्ट ऑफ द PCA नॉर्म्स. दोज हु डू नॉट वांट टू वर्क, मैं कर दूंगा अपलोड कुछ टाइम बाद जब समरी, तो उसमें आई विल पुट दीस होमवर्क वाले आर्टिकल्स. ठीक है, यू कैन रीड फ्रॉम देयर आल्सो. Why do I focus and why do I promote that you should search things on your own? Because उससे perspective build होता है आपका and you start understanding things better. क्या अगले point पे आते हैं. Now awareness campaign planned to dispel rumors on NPR and census. This time NPR and census, ये 8वीं हमारी earth census होने वाली है independent India की. It will also be the second complete socio-economic caste census. ठीक है, 8th census of independent India. अब when this will happen, people are already having doubts about CAA, NPR, NRC. भले पता नहीं है बट विरोध कर रहे हैं. तो कुछ लोगों ने ये भी बोल दिया कि यू डू नॉट पार्टिसिपेट इन सेंसस, बिना बात के लपेटे में. सिंपल सी बात है, अगर दो प्रोग्राम्स हैं जहां पर लोगों की गिनती हो रही है, वेयर पीपल विल बी टारगेटेड, तो तीसरा प्रोग्राम जहां गिनती हो रही है उसको भी टारगेट करना है बिना बात के. सो NPR and census are also being targeted, although NPR is slightly questionable given the fact that CAA is being used to give citizenship to select few people, but I don't think there is any problem with census or SECC. ठीक है, so in order to dispel the doubts on NPR and census, government has said that it will be conducting a very big, let's say, awareness campaign so that people can get to know about everything. I hope you already know that census is conducted by Registrar General of India under the MHA. ठीक है, and the first census of India was conducted in 18 which year? Can somebody tell? I've already given
1872 sir.
हाँ
1872.
71 में हुआ था वो, उसका डेटा 72 तक आया था, बट 71 का
yes
सेंसस.
sir 71.
somebody tell 1871 72 जो ऑप्शन है देख लेना, अपने हिसाब से मत कर देना, दोनों ठीक है. उसके बाद में when was the complete census first one done? First complete census
1881.
1881.
वाइसरॉय कौन था उस टाइम पे?
Sir,
Lord Ripon.
Sir,
Ripon
Lord
Mayo.
Mayo.
Ripon या
no,
Mayo?
actually,
Ripon.
when the
sir.
complete census.
No, Lord
happened,
Ripon
it was
only.
Lord Ripon during the complete census, and first time जब हुआ था, it was Lord Mayo.
Yeah, भाई.
उसके बाद में इंडिया में कास्ट डेटा कब हुआ फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम कलेक्ट?
1931.
1931.
1932.
31 का
31.
census. Data again came later. So ये था first caste data was collected. And then can somebody tell me अभी ये जो सेंसस हो रही है, अच्छा ये तो मैंने बता दिया, 8th सेंसस हो रही है हमारी. SECC फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम कब हुआ था कंडक्ट?
2011.
So,
sir.
2011.
Yes.
2011. ठीक है. NPR पहली बार कब कंडक्ट हुआ था? पार्शियल फुल ये भी पता कर लेना. ठीक है. पार्शियल और फुल दो अलग अलग हुए हैं. एक बार पार्शियल किया गया था, एक बार फुल किया गया था. एक क्वेश्चन तो तुम्हें शायद याद ही होगा मेरे ख्याल से. आई होप यू ऑल रिमेंबर दैट NRC पार्शियल कब बना था फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम? आसाम के केस में याद करना, पुराना 50 के 1951. ठीक है. उधर स्टार्ट हुई थी प्रोसेस. जस्ट NPR एंड NRC की भी हिस्ट्री पढ़ लेना एक बार. जस्ट रीड दैट आल्सो स्लाइटली, जस्ट द डेट्स. सीडीएस के लिए थोड़े से इंपॉर्टेंट है, नथिंग मोर देन दैट. नाउ लेट्स कम बैक टू दिस पार्शियल डेमोक्रेसी वाला जो हमारा आर्टिकल था. बिफोर दैट हैव आई लेफ्ट एनीथिंग? लेट मी सी. नन. तो अब ये व्हाई इज इट इंपॉर्टेंट? सी, India is a neighbor to Myanmar. I've already explained to you in the previous classes that why is Myanmar so important for India. So there is no point of repeating it. We are dependent on them. Now, what I liked about this article is there are 2-3 facts given. First fact is that army understands the ideology of people of Nepal. Myanmar. Myanmar के लोगों की ideology को जो है वहाँ की army समझती है. So that is why they are easily able to conduct the coup. Now, despite the fact there are a lot of troubles happening, still you can see that the government is continuing easily. First point, unlike Pakistan, Myanmar के अंदर इतना terrorism promote नहीं करती army. The army of Myanmar doesn't promote terrorism. ठीक है. Plus लोगों की तरफ welfare का भी उनका orientation होता है, which is why people are not really hitting up against the army. Second thing, that is also very important. That army को ये मानते हैं that army is the one that was the savior. ठीक है, जिसने देश को प्रॉब्लम से बचाया, इंडिपेंडेंस सिक्योर करी थी पूरी. So these are the factors which are promoting the army. Second, Aung San Suu Kyi is also supporting army. Now you will say कि ये तो जेल में पड़ी हुई हैं अभी. जेल में पड़ी हुई हैं, but still whenever she was out, she was not that much against the army. Why? Because इनके पिताजी ने ही पूरी आर्मी का फाउंडेशन लीड किया था यहाँ की. ठीक है. सो सूची जी के पिताजी जो थे.
But sir, I have read somewhere that she is asking for people to not accept the army.
She's asking. That's what I'm saying. She supported the army when she was out. She actually helped the army. The point is, her father raised this army. Raising of army मतलब होता है initiate करना. So her father raised the army. And then thereafter she never went into the deep criticism of army, unlike other places where you will find. जैसे पाकिस्तान में you'll see that some people are very openly discussing about army and फिर वो गायब हो जाते हैं. आर्मी उठा ले जाती है उन्हें. म्यांमार में ऐसा कुछ नहीं होता. म्यांमार में she always supported the army. But now that army has conducted the coup, now she is asking that she be left. Also, her party has asked that इनको बाहर निकाला जाए जेल से. Her party has also asked that she must not be house arrested. If you want to conduct elections, but this is no way of doing it. ठीक है, ये बात है. So she is also one of the prompt supporters of the army, but democratic values ज़्यादा prevail करती हैं यहाँ पे. Then how is India handling this situation? That is very important and interesting to know. Can you tell me कि हम लोग जनरली अगर किसी दूसरे कंट्री में किसी को भेजते हैं तो who are the people to pay a visit? Who are the authorities that go?
Ambassadors.
Ambassadors.
Foreign
Okay.
ambassadors.
And the ministers of external affairs.
ठीक है. Ministers, external affairs minister, prime minister.
सर वो तो खुद चले जाते हैं, उनको कौन भेजता?
नहीं, उनको भी भेजा ही
Indian
जाता है.
Foreign Services diplomat.
Diplomats and ambassadors are all in there. So ambassadors, EAM, PM, president and VP. There's also a position that pays a visit, not to every country, but to a very few. You must have heard that Chief of Army Staff pays a visit.
Yes, sir.
And Chief of
Yes,
Army
sir.
Staff
Yes,
Yes, sir.
basically is a military position. It's a political position. जितना मिलिट्री का कंट्रोल होता है, that is put forward in DGMO, Director General of Military Operations. Chief of Army Staff is for better synergy between India and its partners and among the three forces and the conduct of general armed forces. इस सब चीजों के लिए Chief of Army Staff रहते हैं वहाँ पे. ठीक है. So when he pays a visit, it makes significance because then the army of India is having good ties with the army of the said nation. And here you can see that last October, Foreign Secretary of India went to Myanmar to pay a visit, and that was a diplomatic visit. Diplomatic. And very soon you can see that our Chief of Army Staff, Naravne, was also there. Okay. So you can see we were tackling already the diplomatic channels as well as the military channels. We knew that this might be a possibility, and India has been handling it in the past, and this will be continued. India, this is a very tightrope walk for India, but yet we are able to talk with both the factions, the diplomatic as well as the military channel, and it is not out of hands for us. Whereas China, वो थोड़ा सा ज़्यादा कूद रही है इस समय. So China को तो I don't know why people are not protesting against China, but China has been interfering a lot. Now this also goes hand in hand with the principle of non-interference of India. So a few terms which you should remember. सबसे पहले यहाँ पे आ जाती है आपकी elder brother doctrine, and then there is Gujarat doctrine, if you remember. दोनों के अंदर हम लोगों ने यही बोला है, the principle of non-interference, and in Panchsheel also. ठीक है? These are the three principles which we are putting at display when we are acting in the manner that we are with Myanmar. Okay. Chalo. With this, all the news are done. So now any doubts or questions you might have.